button. Not that you guys should stop talking, just so you know what's going on.
Yeah.
It is that time.
What did you ask, Christy?
And he stops on the way up, other than.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, we don't stop. We have our,
We lost.
5 different stops on the way up.
Right,
Vegas
but were
being
you
one of them.
stopped by anyone looking for money or whatever? Any road?
No, oh no, on the Mexican highway, there was no problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah, we got pulled over at the military for some reason, and had this nice 5-10 minute chat with what was his name? Caesar, who spoke really good English, and it seems like what he really wanted to do was practice. He didn't ask us anything. We got pulled over, and
Wait, you got pulled over like flashing lights or like military checkpoint?
No, at the military checkpoint.
Okay.
We talked to the guy, and he said something arriba. We thought that meant go, so we just started heading out to the thing, and blows his whistle, and the guy with the machine gun motions us in. So we definitely stopped. But like I say, this young guy came to the window and chatted with us, and about all kinds, where you from? I'd love to go to Alberta, yada yada. Nothing at all about why we were pulled over. So who knows? It was all in all a pleasant experience.
Well, we're gonna try it next Wednesday.
And we turned in our.
Oh yeah, and we turned in our FMN. Had to make a little circle tour, like we turned in our Sonora only certificate at the booth, but we had to go around over to the kilometer 21 station to turn in our visas.
Oh, really? So you can't do those in the same spot. You actually have to do that crazy U-turn and then get back.
Yeah. The people in the girl in the telephone booth, the thing there, took this and said, no, you have to go over there for that. So you go up to the end of the barricade, come around it, go in and turn it in, and then head down about a mile or whatever, down the thing past the last barricade, and away you go. You make a loop, a circle. Morning, James.
Hey, Jim, welcome. You're muted at the moment. You're muted.
There you
go.
Morning.
Good morning.
How is everybody?
Well, we're happy.
We're doing good. We're just hearing about traveling to Canada. It is that hour. I have started. I've pressed the go button on the YouTube. So I am Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, and this is the San Carlos Computer Club. It's Tuesday after 10, and we're here to talk tech and catch up with each other, find out what's happening out in the world. I did send out a document on Sunday. I was a little ahead of schedule. I don't see any changes to it, and I've brought 3 topics myself. But as always, we're interested in your topics. I'm going to stick a link to this document in our chat just so the 3 of you have easy access to it. And we've got TJ, Christine, and myself here in Tequilas, of course, with Jonathan serving us breakfast. And we've got Chester, Jim, and Bill online this morning. So that makes the 6 of us. This is a consortium.
Sure.
Actually, 7.
Cheryl's
listening in the background.
Cheryl's Bill's color person today.
This conversation is being recorded for training purposes, I'm sure.
Right. If not training, at least for posterity. That's what most of these recordings are for. That's only when I get up and turn around. So what do we got going on in our worlds? Is there any issues, tech issues? I got a question for Christine. I know you're using Starlink. Have you had experiences at time of stuttering and buffering?
No.
No, nothing. Nothing. And do you know what your max speed is that you typically expect?
100 something.
That's interesting. I was just recently working with a customer that's out towards Marina Real. They're actually up against the Tequilas Mountain. And they were getting 225 megabits a second. And it looked
And what was Christina getting?
225 megabits a second through Starlink.
Okay, and Christina, what did she say?
Over 100.
Over
I
100.
haven't checked it recently. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask about that because I typically think somewhere between 100 and 150 is what to expect. And I was a little caught off guard that I was getting almost 100 megabits more than I would be
that's
expecting.
great.
So
What
that
do
was
you get?
great. But
I'm sorry, 200?
about around 200? 150?
Don't forget I'm
Okay, but directly wired into it, you should be. What do you think your speed is? Just when you do a speed test.
if I do a speed test off of the Starlink router,
Mm-hmm.
it's about 150.
150. See, 150 is about what I expect. Now, this was the ideal situation. It's a Starlink hooked up to a Deco mesh router. I did not hook up a cable. I did it through their Wi-Fi. 225 megabits a second. And I thought that was exceptional. And consequently, we could not find the problem they were complaining about. At that time, it was running perfect. I put a ping plotter in it. I don't know if you've heard of that program. You can get a free download of that. It's good for...
Sound like a coup plotter?
I don't know what a coup plotter is. But
It goes all the way back to Russia.
okay. Well, you're gonna have to explain yourself now.
When there was a coup with Yeltsin,
Okay.
and Letterman, late night, came back with the coup plotters.
David Letterman.
David Letterman.
Okay, so it's a bit.
It was a bit.
Ah.
It was the coup plotters.
Well,
I had
Ping Plotter is an application that allows you to use ping. If you're not familiar with ping, we use it in networking all the time to get a feel for how stable a connection is.
Make a heck of a golf club.
Ping is an application that you can find in almost every operating system, every desktop operating system. But you have to find yourself at the command line or the terminal window and type it out yourself, and you have to know how to form the command. But what it spits back to you is how long it takes to get a packet from you to wherever you're checking. Ping Plotter expands on that idea by providing a graphic interface that runs in your operating system so that you can create a graph over time of how difficult it is to get between here and that exit point, wherever it might be. And Ping Plotter offers up a number of different addresses as examples. Like you can ping plot to Google or to Twitter or to Microsoft, just in general, and it gives you an idea of the stability of your connection. It also lists every hop between you and there, because that's how networking works on the internet, is you're always hopping data from one node to another node to another node, creating a chain until you get to your destination. And so Ping Plotter will show you packet loss, that's when it has to retransmit information, across all these different nodes. And I set this up for the customer just so they could have a visual representation, they could keep an eye on it. And it was perfect. The whole time I was there, everything was perfect. Nothing was. And don't you hate that? Because if you can't repeat a problem, nobody can fix it for you. And so sure enough, about 4 days later, I get a screenshot of Ping Plotter, and there's packet loss across the number of exit nodes. I haven't heard back from them, but my first advice was, well, reboot the Starlink, reboot the Deco, and see if it persists. And I suspect it didn't, because I didn't hear back from them again. But I also explained to them that if it doesn't, regardless of whether it persists or not, it looks like something to talk to Starlink about. because unless you're seeing packet loss on your router or your computer, everything else is out of your control. You've got your deco mesh that's in your control. You've got your computer that's in your control. And then you're at Starlink, and that as soon as you get on the other side of that router, you have no control over that. It's where your dish is facing. That's supposed to happen automatically. As long as there isn't a tree or a cloud, it should be working.
Not with version 3, it's stationary.
Okay. If you get the cheaper equipment, is that what version 3 is?
No, it's the next level up.
Well, yeah, but I would suspect that if it doesn't have an auto tuning system in it, then it probably costs less money for it. And I mean, it's amazing what they've done, because they've got like stick up dishes you can put in the window of your car now.
Yeah.
Remember that Starlink every 24, 48, your IP address will change. It's not a static IP.
Well, now I'm not familiar with how often that changes. Are you? Is it?
It's random.
It's just random while you're using it.
Normally, you can get about 48 hours. With that.
Is that why I have to reactivate the DNS proxy?
It would be. It would be exactly why you'd have to read it.
I get home from wherever I am and I couldn't play music.
Hi, Judy. Welcome. We were just talking about interesting Starlink issues. So,
about $55 a month.
Yeah, about that.
Can't beat it.
Yeah. No.
it really has turned into a killer app.
And with the fact that the Starlink has given country-specific pricing.
Right, like it is a cheaper. It's been priced to the economy of Mexico,
Of the country.
of the country. Yeah.
Because in the United States, I pay $120 a month.
Correct.
It's worth it.
Yeah, the only thing that really makes me a little I mean, we need it. We need this technology to be moving forward. What drives me a little mad is it's the same paradigm as everything that's driven technology for the last 40 years or more that I've been involved in it. Move fast, break things, fix it later. And we're kind of that way, but on a different scope now. We have this infrastructure that has been created around the planet, and it's controlled by one company. And that in itself, I find a little bothersome. That I mean, I'd hoped Amazon would have gotten their game together,
trying it.
and you'd be able to have some competition in that market.
Ooh,
You have something to say,
I feel
TJ?
like Arnold Horseshack, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. Ooh. What do you got?
You read my newsletter?
I did not. No.
One of my most recent articles is Think Like a Startup.
Think like a startup. Okay,
Because
good
the
advice.
companies I deal with in the truck industry.
Okay.
The companies 20, 30, 40 years ago were the companies against the old bulls at the time.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
They've now become the old bulls, and they're stuck in the status quo. In order to survive in today's especially rapidly changing technology world, is you have to think like a startup from day one and continue thinking like a startup. So don't let your heart be still, because there will be companies that will be the disruptors.
Well, in this particular technology, I'm a little squeamish about making it easier, because we don't want a bunch of space junk up there. I mean, look
It's
at
already there.
well, I mean, look at the tech junk that's on the internet right now. I mean, just because it's been so easy to mass produce, so easy to mass distribute,
But the market and capitalism will take care of those faux pas.
Chester, just one moment. Okay, I tend to lean that direction with some exceptions. I'll give you some personal examples right now. Trying to replace car stereo in my car. Okay, I go to Mercados Libre. There's a huge selection of car stereos and speakers. right? Rock bottom Chinese prices, many components I've never heard of. Market is awash in all these different options. Please, gracias. The problem is I've had to send everything back. Everything that I have ordered has had a problem. It is so easy to create and distribute that they're creating and distributing junk that's already broken.
Which reminds me, sometimes when I go to Amazon, at the bottom of, I'll be looking at a product, it said this one tends to be returned a lot.
I'm on Mercados Libre. That would be a great thing for it
Yeah.
to be, because what all of them have is, this is the most sold. It's like, that's not a really good indicator,
No.
right? I mean, especially if you're in the
It was
Latin.
cheap.
Yeah, right. If you're in the Latin market, without a doubt, you're like, yeah, this had all the features at the cheapest price.
Your granddaddy and my granddaddy teach us.
What?
Well, I don't think that's the point I'm trying to make. The
It's
point
not
is
wise
we've
to
created
go for
a
the cheapest or the most expensive. But if you choose the cheapest, be ready to replace it with what you really.
Well, my point being that we've created a marketplace where we can get flushed with technology that's just garbage. So we've got, I mean, okay, they're creating jobs, they're creating economy, but they're also creating a bunch of horse shit that needs to be dealt with. One of the products I had to send back was a brand new set of speakers. Absolutely had never been opened, right? Bagged, taped, nothing. I open one, it's beautiful, perfect. I open the other one, the cone is loose. There isn't a scratch on this device. They obviously did no quality assurance. Probably because quality assurance is expensive. They just, let's hope it's good and send it out with the other 1,000 that we're sending out.
What did Steve Jobs say when he came back? We are no longer producing crap.
Right.
We are redesigning the entire line.
Well, if that was affecting our entire infrastructure, we'd probably see a different quality. And I guess my point is that's more analogous to this, to where we are. There's one provider. It's Starlink. All our data, I mean, it is the killer app. It is very effective, very fast, gives you access to the internet anywhere you are, and everybody's data is flowing through it, through this one point, this one system, without competition to choose a different system.
Go invent a better mousetrap.
I mean, you really are thinking macro when I'm thinking micro. I'm thinking how it affects each and every one of us right now. I'm thinking like WorldCom. I'm thinking about how you're.
Don't forget, I'm a person that invented a better mousetrap.
That I'm not looking for instructions on how to fix this problem. I'm pointing out the problem that we have.
But
the problem, and even if somebody invents this thing, they're still 5-8 years away from launching something that could actually compete against it.
I've been working on this for 4 years.
You don't have a satellite system, and that's what I'm talking about.
Right. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, no matter what the issue, on the macro level, exactly what you're talking about, that's the beauty of capitalism. Go in, if you're not happy with what you got, go create a better mousetrap.
Yeah, I tend to disagree, especially with technology, because I think that people don't recognize what they're doing. I think that we have advanced in technology well faster than any of us have learned the implications of it.
Sure.
And with that in mind, I feel like I need to point out the implications of where we've ended up because of our traditional values, because of the way that we traditionally authorize things and make them okay. This is where we've ended up. We've ended up with one infrastructure across our planet that one company controls that could turn out the lights at a moment's notice. That's what's happened.
Isn't that what Mercedes did when they first invented the car?
I don't know what that means. Because if Mercedes didn't invent the car, somebody else would have. We had wheels, we had motors.
I thought it was Model T.
Yeah, I really would have thought it was Ford you're
No,
talking about, but
Model T was the first mass produced.
But I don't think that is the same as what we're talking about.
This
I mean, what-
makes me think,
Hmm?
when I was working at IBM,
Yeah.
I managed a diamond turn department where they diamond turned 10-inch discs. How long ago was that?
I don't even know what diamond turn means.
It's a diamond bit and it cleans the disc.
The discs were for what?
Computers.
Really?
10-inch.
And these are rigid discs.
Rigid.
Discs. My first official computer class was at a trade school in my high school, my school district, and we had sitting in the corner a rigid disc array as an example. I had never used one, never seen one before. These big platters. So those are 5 megabit platters.
A clean room too. We all had to get dressed up in bunny suits.
Where is IBM today?
Services company, very successful services
better be
company and
successful.
cloud services company.
They're paying my pension. Without them, I'd be dead in the water.
Yeah, if anything, I feel like this might be this, like you say capitalism. Look, capitalism can take care of this problem. It hasn't. It's left us with this problem. It hasn't taken care of it. If capitalism had taken care of this problem, we'd have 3 or 4 infrastructures that we could pick from. And the problem is so nuanced that I don't want 3 or 4, because that's space junk that is going to have to compete with itself.
Well, then
It's-
how do we send space rockets up with all that junk in the way?
Yeah, well, I think that's a concern, but the concern is if we have an infrastructure up there, regardless of whether a private company did it or not, and it's got a full coverage of the planet, why do we need to have a competing service out there just for competition's sake? It feels like after you've got that technology in place, kind of like, and I was using the example of WorldCom, after you have these fiber lines in place, why wouldn't you hand them off to service providers to compete with each other instead of running more fiber lines just so competition has an infrastructure?
Was WorldCom run by Bernie Evers?
Well, they were all thieves because they got tax breaks to build infrastructure for us, and then they didn't open it up for us to be able to use.
But look where we are today from where we were. I started truck driving in 1992, and we made phone calls on phone booths at payphones and 800 numbers.
You know, there's no difference from what I'm talking about than when people finally discovered in 2006 that the main backbones were controlled by one fiber optic line going through a switch there in California with a secret switch that was taking all the data that was coming across the internet and warehousing it for our government to be able to siphon through.
And look where we are today with Starlink.
It's the same thing. That's what I'm saying,
But
is
it's an
that
evolution.
it's not an evolution. It's a duplication, taking advantage of the fact that their customer base isn't educated enough to understand the kind of compromises that have been made.
That's where you and I not differ, but that we come to a crossroads in regards to personal responsibility, in regards to becoming, as you said, educated
Oh my gosh.
as a consumer.
Didn't Chester have a question?
Chester had his hand up. I'm sorry, Chester. Please.
I don't need any accolades, but I crossed the threshold yesterday. I celebrated my 90th birthday.
Wow.
Whoa!
Yes, you need accolades.
Happy birthday, Chester!
I was one of
Way to go,
the,
Chester.
I was one of the first members of this club back in the days when it was called the Internet Cafe.
Yes,
Man, that was a
indeed.
long time ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've been around a long time.
I hope you don't mind having the distinction of being the oldest computer club member.
No, I don't mind that distinction. I'm probably the oldest member alive in the yacht club as well.
Well,
Well done,
felicidades.
Chester.
Feliz cumpleaños. Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you.
Real quick, residing here in Mexico.
Well, say again, what about passwords residing in Mexico?
No,
Passport.
of passports.
Passports.
Passport. Renewal of your passport.
Oh, renewing your passport
The
as
embassy
a
in,
permanent resident
as a permanent resident.
here in Mexico.
Okay.
Easy process.
Yep.
Extremely easy. In fact, the longest part was getting the paperwork back up to the States from the consulate to get it into the system.
so did you go up to Hermosillo to the
No,
embassy?
I mailed, I overnighted directly to,
Guadalajara.
it took 2 weeks to
Yeah.
the day that they received it in Guadalajara for it to show up in the U.S. computer system. It took 2 days to process the application, to then send it back to Guadalajara, which took 2 weeks, and then 2 days to get it back to me. The longest process was getting it from the consulate back to the U.S. and into the system.
Well, I mean, since we are talking in the area that my wife helps people with all the time, I can verify for you if you have done it wrong, it comes right back to you. there is no quick process. If you've done it wrong, it quickly comes back. If you've done it right, you're waiting that 4 weeks. But if you've done it wrong, it'll come back to you in less than a week. And I had the most embarrassing experience renewing mine in Mexico. I think it was during COVID, because they would not give us an appointment. I had to send it off to Guadalajara, and my wife's busy with piles of her pay work. I'm sure I can handle this myself. I filled it out wrong twice. Twice it was sent back to me. I'm like, I'm an idiot. There's a reason people like my wife do this kind of work. And she finally had to double check all my work before I sent it off. And then I got to wait 4 weeks for my passport.
So your wife does facilitation for
Well, yeah, she does immigration work. She helps people with both sides of stuff. But
She helped us get our permanent residency.
yeah, her whole business is business administration. And
so we'll need to talk in February.
sure, yeah, yeah. If you're,
Because my temp expires.
yeah, that's absolutely what she works on. Yeah, and don't let it expire. Yeah. Jim, did you have a question there? I saw your finger.
No, actually, I was going to give a plug for you. She helped Linda and I get our Permanente, and it was extraordinarily painless, quick and easy. I mean, she helped us avoid the delays in Denver by going through the Nogales consulate. I mean, it really was quite remarkable. So tell you, I said thanks.
Of course. Well,
And
and
she speaks Spanish.
I gotta say, it probably wasn't painless for her. I'm amazed at the amount of
I bet you're right.
and patience she has to have. I get a little annoyed with her because she uses up all her patience in the immigrations building and then has none left for me.
She also helped me selling my house and particularly interpreting the contracts which were in Spanish.
This is a great plug for my wife. Yes, if there's immigration, trusts, translations, liaisons between workers, she's the one to call. Not me. I'll just tell you to call her.
Translation of our behavioral assessment.
She would be a good one to get involved in that. Not good. Well, and what would be interesting is to see how the AIs work on that now. Because one of the key things you can do, and I've been spending a lot of time working in AI development studios recently. You can preload the AI telling it what it is. You can say, I want you to behave as though you're in the trucking company, you're a Spanish speaker, and use that as a context to make the translation you want. If you follow what I mean, you can outline it. What was I working on recently? I told him to be a political analyst and to look at news articles with a objective point of view, and then pass articles to me with headlines that weren't inflammatory. Pass me objective descriptions of news headlines, because so many of our news headlines right now are just quick clickbait, right? They're just,
you mean fair and balanced.
yeah, well, I like so much of the headlines we read are intended to get you to click them. They're not intended to convey information about the
I
contents
agree
of
with
the
that.
of the article. And the article could have valid information, but you can't tell from the headline because the headline's meant to hook you. So what I was playing with was this idea of being able to pull articles of value by having the AI create their own headlines for it, basically, that would be objectively based on the contents of the article. But you can't do that in general. You have to start from a premise of understanding, and so you can tell the AI what kind of reader it is. You're a political analyst that has over 20 years of experience reading news periodicals and picking out valid information, and then go from there. You start your prompt doing something like that. And so I would suspect you could get away with using an AI to help you with that stuff.
Help, but there's no way to verify.
Yeah, you still need
You still need someone with bona fides.
Yeah.
To be able, and the gravitas, to say yes, this translation is workable in Mexico.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, well,
obviously,
and
as you know, there's difference between Mexican Spanish and Castilian Spanish.
Sure. Well, and in the AI, you could do things like say you're a Mexican, but you still, I mean, I absolutely agree. You still would need somebody that would be able to vet the vocabulary being used as being the correct vocabulary.
It's like I use AI in reference to setting our reading level for different assessments.
Yeah.
So that for a dock worker, I may only want a 9th grade reading level, but for a truck driver, I may want a 10th grade reading level.
Right. Yeah, I think AI has proven to be very helpful in that.
Helpful there.
Yeah.
Extreme.
Yeah.
In regards to sentence structure and syntax.
It's funny to think that, I mean, we're only into we're not even at the end of the second year of this stuff. Like, since OpenAI went out and started making money and announcing themselves, it's hard to imagine that we're not even through the second year since this all started happening. And just the waxing and waning of opinions of how useful this stuff will be based on what's coming out.
It's an incredible Cinco de Mayo.
Well, like when we talked last week, I was mentioning how Bill Gates was talking about there are only going to be 3 real careers in the future. Everything else is going to be driven by AI. Everything else is going to be pushing AI to do the next thing. Whereas if you looked at the beginning of the year, you'd be like, why would you trust anything to AI? You have to vet everything. It's just amazing how things have changed. It's such a short period of time. Me growing up in this information age, it was mind-boggling how quickly. We used to say a year in computers was 10 years in any other industry. And I feel like AI has amplified that. The AI, just AI alone, a year in AI is like 10 years in computers.
So I have a question.
Okay.
I'm running DNS proxy on a Deco, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, smart DNS proxy, and it really doesn't matter what your
Yeah.
what your routers are.
Anyway, it
Yeah.
seems it's embedded in the decode. So when I go on the TV and I go to Paramount Plus, I can watch everything but the FBI series. And when I go to my computer, I can watch everything,
All from the same service.
all from the same service.
That doesn't make sense.
Doesn't I have to reboot something?
Yeah, and your computer is connected to the same deco mesh.
Yep.
And you're using the same service. You're sure it's the same service?
Positive.
Because where was
What do you
I?
mean by service?
Well, you've got like Amazon Prime, and then you've got these things that Amazon Prime gives you access to, like
Yeah, no,
Paramount
this is-
Plus.
Paramount Plus is, I have a separate subscription to that.
So one of the things that I noticed, and I can't remember, was it your house? Where Paramount Plus wasn't running, but all the content of Paramount Plus was available through Amazon Prime's app because you were subscribed to Paramount Plus. And through the Prime app, you had access to it. And what I would say is, if it is Paramount Plus specifically, this is an experience that I've had in the last few weeks with a customer. We could not get the Paramount Plus app to provide the content, but if we went through the Amazon Prime app, Paramount Plus is one of the options.
Yeah.
And you can choose that, and their inventory of shows is available through the Prime app, and those shows ran.
Now, everything runs except the 3 FBI.
But using the Paramount Plus app.
Right.
And what I'm saying is, why don't you look for them in the
Yeah.
Prime app?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's not a solution to that problem,
Well,
but it's a solution to your watching habits
either that or
problem
wait till
if
I'm
it
back
works.
home.
Yeah. But I would be, I mean, at least personally curious if you could watch it through Prime.
I'll try that.
Yeah. Because that was, to me, that was an odd solution at the time. I like, yeah, but this app should be working through your VPN.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah, but it doesn't matter because look, everything's here in Prime and I can just watch it that way. And I'm like, okay, that's very cool. That's and I mean, just to give some context to that kind of that's kind of what Apple was trying to do with Apple TV, is they wanted to funnel all these different services through their device, and they ended up having to give up on that idea and making an app store so that these apps could come into their device. And essentially, Amazon is doing that by including this content as part of their Prime app.
Yeah, because I subscribe to Max through Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and I would expect that to be on their list. When you go into the Prime app, you've got Prime movies, and then you have Paramount Plus stuff, and I suspect you also have Max right there,
Yeah.
because you're doing those subscriptions all through
Well,
Amazon.
since I'm not, I don't know that that'll work, but I'll try it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if you're not paying for it through Prime, then that might not be an
Yeah,
option.
it won't.
Yeah, interesting. I just heard somebody beep. Bill has
It's me.
raised his hand. What's up?
Actually, it's Cheryl.
That's not what
Okay,
your name
so-
says. You're Bill from now on.
Because I'm sitting at Bill's computer, because I went to turn my computer on. We have not been in the house since, well, we were in January, but I don't think I touched it then. And my computer is running, and it probably has been since October, and everything is locked, and it is a mess. Anyways, meanwhile, I have a Samsung phone that I had in Mexico, and I would turn it on every so often, but as soon as I turned it on, it was wanting to pay roaming charges and everything, so I just left it off. I plug it in when I get home, and I'm trying to charge it so that I can turn it on, and the cords go in, and it flashes that the power cord is attached. But it doesn't charge, it doesn't do anything, I can't turn it on, I don't know what to do with my Samsung cell phone. Meanwhile, you're talking about Amazon Prime. When we were
Wait,
in
going
San
back to
Carlos,
your phone, just one question. Did you try another cable?
we've tried 2 different cables so far, and same reaction. I'm trying it into different cubes, we're
Does
troubleshooting.
it show it having any percentage of charge, or it just looks like it's trying to charge? Doesn't show
No,
any
it just,
percentage.
it flashes the round circle that is totally gray with a little point in it that usually fills in as it's charging, you know, the little lightning thing in the middle.
Right.
And it just flashes that on and then it goes away.
Wait, what about your charger? Did you try a different charger?
So far, let's see, Bill's tried it in a port, in a cube. I don't know. What's it doing now? But I did want to ask you about this Amazon Prime thing, so.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
that one for a minute.
just with the phone, I would try different cables, different chargers, and then I would probably assume the battery has given up the ghost.
Oh, so I'd take the battery out.
Using here.
Well,
Yeah, at one point. Can you remove the battery? I don't even think you can remove the battery, can you? Is
I
there
don't
any?
know.
Does it feel? I mean, it's not inflated, right?
No, it's nice
Everything
and smooth
seems
and
normal.
it's not been blown up or anything and I've hardly used this thing. I've owned it for 6 years and I
Oh,
only
6
keep it
years.
because there are a couple of medical places and a couple of apps and things that want a Canadian cell phone.
I bet your battery is just giving up the ghost.
It's toast, like it's been
I'm
dead
just-
enough times.
Given the fact that it's 6 years old, it's actually worse for these batteries to have them sitting not being used than it is to have them topped up most of the time. And that's the way to really promote longevity in the battery and the device, is to keep it topped up.
So can a telephone person open this up and change a battery or what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would take it to a cell phone shop if you want to get it fixed. They should be able to pop it open and change. Do you know what model it is?
Samsung,
It's like if it's 6 years, it's got to be like an S9 or an A model.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
you have to turn it on to look to find out what.
I can't turn it on.
Cricket for $200.
Yeah.
That's
Anyways, so
you
that'll
know,
be-
TJ's not wrong. It's so cheap to buy a basic Android phone now. It may not even be worth messing around with.
Yeah, but I'm cheaper than cheap, so.
Well,
I got the phone for free when I signed up for a free service with my cable company and.
you got the darn thing for free.
She's not complaining, she's just asking.
We're tech support, TJ. We're trying to fix problems.
What is the time? What is her time?
So, Amazon Prime,
Yes, go ahead.
during the winter, our book club was trying to watch certain things, the Book of Negroes. So one person says, "Oh, I watched it on Prime." So I log into my Prime account and I try to find the Book of Negroes. Nope, not anywhere, not even available, cannot do. So then I think, oh, I have to have my VPN on. So I try my VPN on, I try my VPN off, I try a bunch of different things. And out of 3 of us, 2 of us were successful in watching it in Prime, and I never was. We couldn't figure out if it was Canada, USA, if it was maybe what you're alerting me to. The person that was watching it maybe had a subscription to Paramount or something.
Yeah.
How is that working?
Well, that's how it's working. So what happens is people have a Fire Stick and they decide to sign up for Paramount Plus. If you do it right from the stick, which is insanely easy to do, all of a sudden you have the service and it's billed to your Amazon account. So your subscription is through your Amazon account. Then that content, and I haven't verified, but I bet this is the case. I bet this is the case with you as well, is that content becomes available through the Prime app. And I suspect from your experience, I haven't checked this out, but I wouldn't be surprised if you subscribe to Paramount Plus outside of an Amazon account, then that would be handled differently. It wouldn't be added to your Prime offering. You'd be able to sign into your Paramount Plus app using that account, but it would have no association with Prime. So if you're paying for Paramount Plus or Peacock or one of these, I suspect, I want to say Disney, but that's going a bit far. I bet Disney doesn't allow it to come through the Prime app, just out of principle.
Well, they have Max and HBO.
But Max, HBO,
And
Paramount
maybe Disney
Plus.
Plus. And maybe Disney Plus, because my Disney account is signed up through my Amazon account.
Okay.
And when I
So
think about it,
You're paying for Disney Plus through Amazon Prime. Through
I believe that's how it's set up.
then
Through our Amazon account.
if Disney is allowing Amazon to do it using the same thinking, I would suspect that there's a Disney Plus option in the Prime app that allows you access to the same content. That is how Paramount Plus has been behaving. Is if you
Okay.
signed up to Paramount Plus through Amazon, then Amazon is attached to that service, and you can get access to that content through the Prime app.
Okay, so now we have Fire TV, not a Fire Stick, but a Fire TV.
You're talking about the box?
No,
TV.
the TV itself.
Oh, a
is called
TV
Fire
that's
TV.
running. Okay, I got you. As
It's
it's
a Fire
software,
TV.
it's smart software is Fire TV.
Okay, yeah, it's not a Roku, it's not anything like that.
Right.
It's a Fire TV.
I think it's
Amazon
actually called
Fire.
Amazon TV, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, it doesn't say Amazon TV. It always says Fire TV.
Well, that's the operating system, but I think you refer to your TV as an Amazon TV.
Okay.
Yeah, like you'd refer to a Roku TV. I think you refer to an Amazon TV. It uses Fire OS as the operating system. But a Fire TV, I mean, just to make things even more convoluted, a Fire TV is actually a square box that you plug into a TV set. A Fire TV stick is a stick you plug into the back. And an Amazon TV is a TV that uses the Fire OS as its smart operating system.
Okay. So, no, that
That
does
doesn't
me
help with
because-
anything.
No, it does help with something because when I got home, my cable company has changed their TV and it is now an internet-based service.
Okay.
And it's called Shaw Xfinity or whatever. And all of a sudden, on my TV, instead of having to go to an HDMI and change the input to get to my cable TV box, it's got a new app on it called Shaw Xfinity that just showed up. I didn't install it. It showed up on my TV yesterday. Because I've been at home for 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
I've already tried to watch things on my TV.
So you didn't install this app. It just installed itself.
Yeah, and we used to have a cable TV box, and now we have this little thing. It doesn't have the time or anything or record. It doesn't have any buttons on it. It's this tiny little box, and it's sitting. Doesn't seem to be hooked up
Oh.
by cords or cables.
There
And it
isn't a
must be
cable
getting-
going to the TV from it?
No, I don't think so. Is there a cable going to the TV?
An HDMI cable specifically.
She said no.
We see us build.
We were talking about the TV and it turned on. Oh, no, we don't feel about
The TV kind of stands up and goes, "What do you want?"
Yeah.
There is no connection to the internet.
There's no cable connection.
No
It's
cable.
it's all Wi-Fi related.
It's power and an HDMI to the TV. That's the only two connections at the back of this box.
Wait, say that again. Power and HDMI.
There is an HDMI connection?
Yeah, the HDMI. goes
Okay.
to the-
Oh,
right.
it is.
So what I could imagine, Cheryl, and I've seen this with other devices, is that your TV is smart enough to see the device that's plugged in as a specific thing that has its own icon. So you're still on HDMI 1 or 2 or whatever. But your previous box didn't have that capability. And so your TV would just generically say HDMI 1. But the box that you have now announces itself. Plug and play. That's essentially what you're looking at, HDMI plug and play. And so
Okay.
you're still looking at HDMI 1, but your box has beautified it for your smart TV. So there's an icon, there's a name, but essentially, technically, you're still on that HDMI connection port.
Except that when I'm watching it on that little app, it looks the same and everything, but I have to use the Fire TV remote instead of my cable remote to change channels and to do the volume and everything.
Well, did the new box come with a remote?
Yes,
But that doesn't work?
it works, but only if I go to the HDMI TV input. Does this remote work with the TV? If I look at my TV and I use my TV remote and I go to that app, that Shaw, Xfinity, whatever, and it shows me the same menu, but my controls don't work. But these controls don't work anymore. I have to make sure I've got the right
I would
remote.
suspect that. Sure. I suspect the way I've seen, and we're gonna have to switch meetings pretty soon here because I think we're running out of time. I would suspect that your Fire Stick remote or your Fire TV remote would work both on your TV, of course, and this box. But I wouldn't suspect that the box's remote control could work on the TV any more than maybe volume or power, maybe. And so once you've started the app, I would suspect that both remotes should be working with, and we're calling it an app. I don't think it's an app. I think it feels like an app because you're looking at an icon and you start the icon. But when you start the icon, it's really HDMI and you're going over to that box. And so it's not an app. You're using that box at that point. Now that box has the ability to tell the TV what it is, including how to control it. And that's why the Fire TV remote will continue to work on that box. But I'd also expect that box's remote at that point to be working. I wouldn't expect you not to be able to use it.
Yeah, I couldn't seem to open the guide and stuff when I was trying to watch the election last night. The call is about to end. So
Okay, I'm going to open up the next meet because we're still in it. So anybody that wants to move over to the second meet, this is the time to do it.
I don't know how to.
Example is my remote for the TV controls power and volume.
Yeah.
My remote for the Fire Stick handles everything else.
And my Roku handles everything but volume. But the one I have at home, I was able to program the Roku to do everything.
Welcome back, people. We've got Jim, Chester, me. We're missing Bill and Cheryl. So I know I have this experience with a Samsung TV in my office that has a Fire Stick that I can use the Fire Stick. Oh, good. Cheryl's back. So I have a similar kind of experience with a TV I have in my office. I have a fairly recent Samsung screen. I have a Fire Stick plugged into an HDMI port. The Samsung, I've got more than that actually. I've got a PlayStation 4 plugged into an HDMI stick as well. The Samsung Smart TV keep in mind, these things want to keep track of you. And so the PlayStation announces to the TV, I'm a PlayStation, and the Samsung, because of its smarts, goes, hey, you're a PlayStation 4. It knows it's a PlayStation 4. And it goes into game mode and puts all these different like game stuff around the experience that I have no interest in. But it's Samsung trying to grab hold of my gaming experience so it can track what I'm doing gaming, so it can add it to my data footprint. The motivations are nefarious, but the technology works like this. It knows it's a PlayStation 4, and so it beautifies my experience. I don't have an HDMI 3 icon show up. I have a pretty PlayStation 4 icon that shows up in its stead. My Fire Stick is the same way. It knows it's a Fire Stick, and so instead of an HDMI 1 generic icon, I have an icon that says my Amazon Fire Stick. And consequently, the Samsung screen is intelligent enough at this point that if it wanted, just like with the PlayStation, if it wanted to add features around Amazon, it could at that point, because it has identified I'm an Amazon user on HDMI 1. Now, along with that experience, what I find is my Fire Stick does not control my Samsung screen any more than power and volume, but I use the Fire Stick the majority of the time, and so I immediately switch over to that HDMI port, and then it feels like the entire experience is controlled by one remote. In contrast, because my Samsung screen knows it's a Fire Stick, it tells its Samsung remote control, hey, you know, this port is a Fire Stick. And the Samsung remote control, which continues to work on the TV, will also work on the Fire Stick. So if I've grabbed the Samsung remote and I go straight to the Fire Stick, I'm no wiser. I'm still using the Samsung remote control. You know what makes it very clear to me I grabbed the wrong remote control is I point it the wrong direction. Because the Samsung remote control is only an IR, an infrared remote control. So all you have to do is point it 90 degrees away from the screen and it doesn't do anything. The Fire Stick remote controls are Bluetooth, so you could have them in your pocket and be able to use them. And that's when I'm like, oh, I grabbed the wrong remote control. But so that's the closest similarity I can make to the experience you're having, Cheryl. And I would wonder if it's not, it's that the Amazon remote control may control your box, this new Shaw Infinity box, but the remote from the Shaw Infinity box will not control your TV beyond possibly power and volume.
Except that when I use the box control, it has the menu and the guide that I can't seem to figure out how to get to from my Fire TV remote. So it has a couple of buttons on it that I cannot figure out how to get to unless I use that remote. So
Yeah.
I'm stuck with
so
using two remotes for a while. But what I'm really wondering is if I really even need the service that is, like, we pay quite a bit, $100 and some a month for our Wi-Fi. And I've been watching everything on my Wi-Fi television apps, you know what I mean? Without using the cable, the DirecTV subscription part of my package. And so I'm really considering, what am I getting for my money here? And maybe I need to talk to my provider, because they're charging me for phone, for this, for that. And
I'm really curious what kind of deal you can get taking the TV off, because those bundled packages. Yep.
Yeah, the package, like I'm allowed to, in my account, cancel my telephone down to voicemail only and turn off the TV portion for a maximum of 6 months in a year. So it's just been reactivated. So for the 6 months we've been gone, we've only been paying for internet. And I'm wondering if we can't just still continue to only be internet and have the phone, instead of talking on the phone, it sends me a voicemail message via email, and then I phone the person back on my cell phone. You know, like it's just, I have to figure out with my packaging how much I want to spend. And then we'll probably sell the house and move out of this district, and it won't matter anyways, because I'll have to find a new provider. And you know, that's how life will go. I just know. So. So I'll throw away the cell phone that won't turn on, and by this time next week.
Well, what you're describing sounds like decisions we had to make in Alaska a number of years ago. And at the beginning, you couldn't get internet service without bundling it with TV service and phone service. And then by the end of it, we were canceling TV service to save a few dollars. Like the pricing of internet had become, I mean, it's still expensive, but what they were offering with the internet at that price without TV, it was negligible. Like it just didn't even matter whether we took TV or not at that point.
That's how I ended up with the cell phone, because it was Shaw was our cable provider, internet provider, telephone provider, like landline. And Rogers, this great big huge company in Canada, took over and offered us, as new now Rogers customers, a free cell phone. A free cell phone monthly, pay as you go for free. So that's how I ended up with the cell phone. And I've just, kept it along. But we've had companies change names, change this, and yeah.
Well,
Huh. I just got a message that says this call is about to end.
that's weird. I don't have that message.
Oh,
I don't either.
Meeting details. Let's see. No, nothing here.
no,
Maybe-
it's just across the top of my screen.
Oh.
Oh, well. Okay.
Is it on the
ignore me.
same computer that's all locked up and having to do?
No, this is Bill's iPad.
Okay. Don't know about that at this moment. You shouldn't be getting a message like that. We are at, oh, wow. Look at that. I'm draining my battery. I didn't even realize I didn't have this turned on. In fact, it was on. I wonder how it got turned off. Huh. Yeah, because it was one of the things. Anyway. Yeah, Jim, what would you like to contribute?
I got a quick problem. If we got a moment, I just put in something called HubSmart. When I left here last year, or Hub Space, to control lights here in the house while we were out of the country.
Hub
And I've gotten
Space?
back. It's one where it turns on the lights automatically at a certain time every day. That
Okay.
sort of thing.
I don't think I'm
And it's-
familiar with it, but
And it's controlled on my phone. Well, I've gotten back, and I want to take over manual control of these 4 lights. And I have turned everything off, but I still don't have manual control.
so
It looks like the system is off, but the
what does manual control mean? You can walk over to the wall and flip the switch?
yes. Like,
So-
for example, right here, see this light? I can't turn it on or off. And I should be able to, because my phone will turn it on at 4 o'clock.
Now, if you
Would
go
have
to your
until I
phone,
turned it off.
if you
Sorry?
go to your phone, you should be able to turn it off or on manually, right?
That's correct.
Now, if you leave it on, can you, and I said manual already, which is the wrong word, right? Because now I want you to try and turn it on and off manually with your fingers. Just go over and reach and it turns back on when you don't use your phone. Just pull the chain again.
I
It turns
did.
back
Nothing
on?
happened.
Nothing.
Nothing happens. Nothing
If you pull
happens.
the chain, nothing happens?
Pull the chain, nothing happens.
Even after you've turned it on using your phone.
Okay, wait a minute. No, I had turned everything off. Let me
Turn the light on with your phone.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, I've just activated it. It will turn on at 5:30 tonight.
Well, forget about the schedule for a moment. If you turned it on with your phone, now can you turn it off or on with your chain?
No, I turned it on the schedule, but I have not been able to turn it on or off even with my phone.
I'm not familiar with Hub Space, but I see that it's a Home Depot thing.
Right.
But I can tell you from my own experience that these things typically have a default position. You should have a button that allows you to just turn the light on regardless of a schedule on your phone.
One would think, but I don't. Well, wait a minute. Maybe. Wait a minute. Yes.
There you go. Now, what you want to do is you want to set all your lights to be on and turn your schedule off.
Okay.
And then you can manually adjust them by pulling the chain or flipping a switch.
Son of a gun. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm back in business.
Christine's showing me her app. I don't know if you can see it on KI. One big turn on and off button.
Well, I don't have. Well, I guess I do.
But
My, my.
also, you plug into a box in the wall, and it has a flip switch to discontinue the control of the phone.
We have just built this very nice wall in front of our house with exterior lighting. It's beautiful. And one light switch. And I am thinking instead of smart bulbs, I'm just going to get a smart switch. And I can schedule it to turn on the lights when it gets dark, and turn them off when it gets light, and be done with it.
Got that thing, clap on, clap off, right?
You know, that still works, but you have to go, Alexa.
Here it's Consuelo.
Okay, Scott, we have 3 devices and our wake words are all ones that you have used in the last hour. We've got things asking us, I don't know the answer to that. They're telling us, so, quit
Hey.
using 3 different words.
You want some real frustration? I've told you about my Amazon Studio, Echo Studios. I have 2 of them paired for our, right? And if you're not in the TV set, if you don't have the stick on that marries all 3 devices together, then you ask using the A word for help, and inevitably one of them answers the question and the other one is just totally confused and they're talking over each other. And I've got a third one in the living room because I want to monitor the house. And what I've learned with the more recent devices is they're single purpose devices. I can't monitor the house and take commands. So I've got a Generation 1 Echo that sits over in the corner specifically to act like a baby monitor of the living room. And that one I had to give a different wake word, or it would be a third one just shooting off ridiculous stuff.
Okay, so you know that sound that you make across the canyon and you hear yourself back? That's one of our wake words, and you've just used it 3 times. The other one is the name of the Fire Stick, the company that owns all those things that delivers to your house.
Oh, okay.
That's another wake word. And the third one is what's her name that starts with A.
There's another one that I thought might be interesting, but I can never remember the name of it. It's like one of their first, it's like Jerry or something.
Computer. The word is
Computer's one.
computer.
Yeah, I
and
use
we've
computer.
got some that do that.
I use computer, but they've got another one that's strange, something like Jerry or Ziggy or something like that. I tried to use it for a while, but I kept forgetting what the word was.
Bill had the same problem, and I think you're right. It was Ziggy or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. I thought, oh, how unique, I'll set that. And then what I found myself was going into the Amazon app to remember what the word was all the time. Well, Jim, I hope that solves your manual use issue there.
Thank you.
I did bring a few topics, and I'm going to hit them very quickly because we're not going to talk about them next week. If you have a Nest thermostat from the first or second generation, Google's decided it doesn't need to support it. I have some mixed feelings about this. I mean, one, the first thing is Bill of Digital Rights, right? They haven't announced open sourcing it. So nobody, it's basically, if you wanted cloud support, it's gone. And what I mean by cloud support is, did you want it to do things like at sunset? Did you want it to do things at sunrise? Did you want it to do things to get ready for when you come for your vacation? Did you want to take advantage of things like that, those kinds of nuances? You've lost all of that because Google has just decided it's no longer part of the cloud infrastructure, and they have not announced any measures that would allow you to hook it to any other cloud infrastructure. That bothers me. As far as the Bill of Digital Rights, I believe that when you abandon a product like this, it should be open sourced and out there in the community. I think that you should document it so that others can pick it up and repair it and add services to it if they want. But when you just say, we're not doing it anymore, there's a whole market of people that are just going to be chucking these for the latest version. And that's just the wrong way to be building our communities. That's not the way our culture should work. At the same time, this is where my mixed feelings come from. If you want a smart thermostat with local controls, and all you want to do is access it from your phone when you're in your house, maybe you're in the market for a Gen 1, Gen 2 Nest thermostat. It's still going to do those local things. And ironically, it doesn't need an account anymore, right? It doesn't need to be connected to the cloud to do anything. So if you want to adjust the temperature on your phone, well, that Gen 1 should be able to do it. If you want to set it up to on the wall, and I mean, like a whole slew of services disappear. But at the same time, you're no longer tied to the internet. You're no longer tied to an account. There's where my mixed feelings come from. So many of these products are being released, you can't use it without an account. We've got light bulbs. I've got light bulbs around my house. I cannot use the light bulb without having signed up for an account. So that's just my 2 bits on these thermostats losing their cloud services. I wonder if it really even matters to most people.
Unless you wanted to change it from here, then you'd need the cloud service.
Then you need the cloud service. Also, I imagine for you to be able to use the phone app or whatever else, you still need to have it connected to Wi-Fi. So you would not be receiving any software updates, no security updates. And as hard as it is for people to wrap their head around this silly little gadget or a light bulb or a switch, every one of these things is a computer server in itself. And so there is always this security threat of a malicious actor getting into one of these devices that's no longer supported with security holes that exist that haven't been patched. And now you have this intruder on your network that can compromise other things on the network. So yeah, very mixed feelings. I think a lot of my mixed feelings would be resolved if we had something like a Bill of Digital Rights, because we would have this expectation of personal digital protection. The next thing on my list, I think people should read each one of these articles. You should go through it yourself, but there's this one clickbait title, Google's Gmail upgrade, why you need to change your app. What this is, and this is a Forbes article, so it doesn't get too technical, but it gets into this end-to-end encryption, I'll say in double quotes, because it is not possible.
That's what I read.
It's absolutely not possible to do end-to-end encryption on email because of the very nature of what email is. We've known this since the beginning of encryption, since people started trying to do this, there is no way you are going to be able to encrypt an email to go to some random server out there and expect it to be unencrypted and easy to use.
Well, you can. You both agreed on a password to open and translate it.
That's
At
right.
least that used to be.
That's right. So there isn't, when Google is advertising this change to their email system, they are selling it to us as a higher level of security, but it also requires a higher level of knowledge to understand what's going on. And what email really needs, to go back to my rant a little bit, it needs a whole rethinking and redesigning with encryption in mind right from the beginning. And it has to be adopted across a whole field of email. And this is one of the reasons for years I've said email is dead, everything's going to go instant messenger, because that's essentially what they've done with things like Signal and WhatsApp. Signal specifically. They've got encryption and security in the foundation of the product. It would make sense for Signal to release an email product. They would call it email in name only, because it could not follow any of the email standards that are being used now, because all of the email standards are based on an open format because they were put together before encryption. The very nature of being able to send an email from one computer to another means that a dozen computers in between have to be able to read the contents of the email. It has to be stored in servers across the internet, which means inherently it is unsafe. Gmail can do things like guarantee if you send from a Gmail account to another Gmail account, that's encrypted. They can make that easy on you. They can do the encryption and decryption themselves. And that's what Proton Mail does, and why they build themselves as encrypted, safe, secure email. But
within their own network.
Exactly, it's within their own infrastructure. They're able to make that easy for you to use, and if you're on Proton Mail and I'm on Proton Mail, then at the click of a button, we've had encrypted end-to-end communication between the two of us. The moment that email has to jump outside of that service, it has to be unencrypted.
Same thing like with business emails that are within the same.
Yeah, very much like an exchange service. Yeah, in a corporate environment. This stuff is not new. It's been going on for a long time. Now, where the breakdown is, Gmail's offering this to consumers as a secure platform. The very essence of consumers means that you don't have an IT staff to educate the consumers on how this stuff works. You could be sending emails thinking that they are encrypted, and they aren't. What makes it even more dangerous is they're going to have a standard for creating encrypted email amongst email servers that aren't Gmail, if those email servers are providing it to you. So there'll be a system for vetting those email addresses and a connection that can be made between Gmail and those servers. This is not a bad thing. It's a bad way to implement it, because
Basically
it's
subscribing to the Google network as an outside network.
Sounds convoluted.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad way to think about it. Is you're essentially vetting these servers. These servers have to agree that they're secure servers, and they have to agree to Gmail. And the way it looks right now, they have to agree to your particular Gmail. So when you're setting up this encryption between you and this outside email server, which you don't think of as doing, you think of it as setting up encryption between you and your friend, you and your family member, then there's this dialogue back and forth that has to happen, that has to be accepted. And the complaint is that system is what's going to be compromised, because anybody can send you this request for encryption, so that at that moment it can look legitimate, you can authorize it, and it wasn't legitimate right from the get-go. It's going to be a spammer. It's going to be a hacker. It's going to be somebody that is able, it's going to somebody or some program that has the capability to appear as though they're a legitimate friend, family member, or service on a legitimate server, and you hit a button and now you have an encrypted channel with somebody that's about to compromise you. And that's the criticism. The criticism is this false sense of security that can be gained very easily by an intruder out there on the internet. And that's why this article has the clickbait title of Change Your App. It's not that this is a bad implementation. The whole paradigm around it creates this false sense of security that will lull people into getting scammed. Whereas before, maybe they were safer in thinking everything's a scam. There is no encryption. There is no security. You should always be vetting each individual email. These things that are done really kind of they really frustrate me. And you see them in different areas of technology. One of my favorite ones to point out is just the waves. The waves on your Wi-Fi connection. I mean, so many people got the bars. I don't have full bars. I must have a lousy connection. Right? And they would, like, you don't necessarily have a lousy connection. You could have 2 bars and you're doing everything you expect to be able to do, but those 2 missing bars are bothering people. I must not be having the full connection. Microsoft eliminated the speed. So you have to dig in to the settings of Windows and Windows 11. You have to dial deep down into the settings to see how fast your connection really is. Microsoft is like, why do they need to see the connection? Most internet connections are under 100 megabits a second. You're connected at over 100 megabits a second in your house to begin with, regardless of the bars being displayed. Why do you need to see the numbers?
It's working.
It's working. It's working is probably their answer. It's like, oh no, people are getting the wrong impression. Just let them see that it's working. It's a socialized solution for a technical problem. It's like, oh, it's working. Just tell them it's working. They don't need to know how it's working.
Back with dial-up, and we 56K. Oh my gosh, we were dancing in the streets.
Right? Yeah. Well, I've got one more article I brought along, and I think all of these are worth taking a look at. But this one doesn't necessarily need to be read because everybody's in the market for Chrome right now, and Yahoo's a big contender. That's all this is talking about, is how Yahoo wants to buy Chrome. But what I've learned is everybody wants to buy Chrome. For some reason, people think Chrome would be a good asset to have.
Especially
The Chrome web browser, you think it would be good for?
Oh, you were talking about Chrome. You're talking about Chrome on the truck. Oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
Oh,
We definitely
boy.
have a truck driver
Oh,
guy
that's a
in the crowd.
I did that.
Ah. Yes, so this is, if you haven't been paying attention to it, everybody's being sued right now. Google's no exception.
Neither am I.
Google, one of the solutions that they're seeing is decoupling the Chrome web browser from Chrome's holdings, or from Google's holdings. It's not Google. What is the name of their company now? Alphabet. From Alphabet's holdings. And so to do that, they would have to sell off the Chrome web browser to some third party, and Yahoo represents one of the parties that's interested in buying it. That in itself is kind of interesting. What is really interesting is how little alternative market share there is for browsers out there. Chrome, or the Chromium engine, which Chrome is based on, holds most of the market. If you're looking for alternatives, you've got Firefox, you've got Safari. Edge is based on Chrome. Yeah. So you've got you've got Firefox, Safari, and then you've got every other browser out there, all based on Chromium. And they're impressive. It really is kind of the example of having an open source motor. I mean, it kind of be like having a motor anybody could build, and then you get to decide what the car looks like. You get to decide how many doors is on it. You get to see how many windows, whether they're power windows or it comes with a stereo or whatever. But the foundation is open source. Everybody can use the same instructions. Well, Microsoft did it on purpose. Microsoft got into Edge being a Chrome browser because it was costing them too much to keep up their own browser. But it does not. What is the opposite of dilute? I mean, it's like we went through a period of time there where we had a half a dozen engines out there all competing, and it's like the market decided the engine was infrastructure. And so it was safe to grab this open source motor. What's that?
Netscape.
Oh, yeah. Well, Netscape used to charge for their product until Microsoft decided to give it away for free and get in trouble with the DOJ. The DOJ is the one that really made it possible for other web browsers to enter into the market, because they had to uncouple. They had tied the web browser so deeply ingrained to the operating system that it couldn't easily be pulled out, and the DOJ said, no, you can't do that. And so they had to decouple it from the operating system. In a bit of irony, now that we live in 2025, I wouldn't want an operating system that couldn't have a web browser tied into it. You want internet technology built right into your operating system. It's what makes it robust. It's what gives you instant features. It's what gives you instant security updates. But at the time, that was all considered monopolistic practices, which they were. They absolutely would have dictated the market. Hey, and who knows what Andrea would have been if Netscape had continued along the path it had. It could very well have been Google. Could have been one of these giants that European regulators are fighting against right now. But they got squashed by Microsoft's business practices, not by its technology. Everyone knew at the time Netscape was the better browser. But it lost because of business practices. Sometimes you'll hear me make comments like, I've watched good technology go by the wayside for what was considered good business. And that's perfect example. Netscape Internet Explorer battle is a perfect example of us having to tolerate bad technology because it was good business for them.
See you in the fall.
This is Christine's last meeting with us.
Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
I will be back, Christine. We will be back probably the first Tuesday of October. That will be our in-person meeting. Did I cover everything on my list? I think I did. Did we hit all of your guys' topics and points for this meeting? If not, this is the time to shout them out. We typically do some kind of recommendations. I have not brought a recommendation. I see Bill and Cheryl are on. Cheryl's pretty good for a recommendation from time to time. You got anything out there? Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
Has anybody talked about the old man with Jeff Bridges?
Oh, is there a new season?
No, it's still just season 2 is the last one.
Oh, all right. I really enjoyed the first season. I haven't gotten around to watching the second season yet.
Second season's excellent. It'll throw you for a loop. And Bridges, of course, is so good. It's just fascinating to watch him. And Lithgow is just as good. John Lithgow also stars in this. And
What
the
an
two of them
awesome
together-
team up.
I beg your pardon?
I said, what an awesome team up, the two of them.
Oh, it really is. It really
Yeah.
is.
I
Talk
think
about
about
a
Lithgow's career and how he's been a powerhouse for so long. And it's like his audience has had to come to him. It has not been obvious. But you look back on his career now, and the guy is just a madman all the way back. I love it. He's easily as talented as Jeff Bridges is.
Oh, easily as talented as Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
But
All right.
watch.
See you guys.
Bill, you guys don't have a recommendation?
Not this week, we've been on the road.
No, what?
Been on the road, haven't watched TV.
We haven't watched any TV. We've been on the road for 10 days.
Well, the two things I'll mention, The Last of Us is out. Pedro Pascal,
Yes.
season 2 so far, excellent. Watched the first 2 episodes. And Andor, season 2. Now,
Yeah, they're all on our list.
Andor, if you don't have to be a Star Wars fan to appreciate this series. This is an amazing sci-fi series. Tony Gilroy, he's claimed season 2 to be the best work he's ever done.
And we're still waiting for Resident Alien to come out again.
Well, I highly recommend Andor. If you haven't watched the first season, watch it. And then season 2.
We've watched it, but I've forgotten it. I'll have to watch it again.
It's being released 3 episodes at a time.
Oh.
Season 2 picks up a year after the end of season 1. And each set of, they're like a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
So each 3 episodes that are being released are a year. And from what I understand, the next 3 that are released will be another year. And the next 3 that are released will be another year. As we progress.
I gotta go. I got things cooking in this kitchen.
All right, Bill, go get your food.
Yeah.
I feel it's
Okay,
really
guys.
important next to lunch.
Proxima semana.
Hasta la próxima semana.
Okay, guys, take
All right,
care.
Jim. We'll see you later, man.
Bye.
Hasta luego. Well, that was actually probably a good idea because I'm running out of time too. I've got a thing right after this. So until next Tuesday, everyone, tech on. And we're out of here.